We continue with the men's second round and we welcome to the stage a former Finnish Masters and Lithuanian Open champion. Playing in his fourth Lakeside World Championship from Sweden, strongman Dennis Nielsen. His opponent is twice a gold medal winner for Scotland, the former Swedish Classic and Romanian Classic champion from Scotland, the number 10 seed, Stoney Gary Stone.
Good evening everyone and welcome back to Lakeside, where we resume day 6 of this year's WDF World Darts Championship. Tonight sees us commence round 3 in the men's competition with an all-Belgian clash between Francois Schweyen and Brian Roman, meaning Belgium will be defeated for the first time this year. We also have the return of the Irishman Shane McGuirk, who's mastered the doubles this week, a perfect display, so he beat Edwin Torbjornsson in straight sets. In the women's competition, Wales number 1 Rhiannon O'Sullivan makes her tournament bow against Lorena Rietbergen. But first up, we have our last round 2 match from the men's tournament as the talented Scot Gary Stone gets his 5th World Championship campaign underway. He's not played a huge amount of WDF darts this year. He's tended to focus on the bigger events, the gold tournaments in Denmark and Ireland. He's played away from the WDF as well, thinking the Modus Super Series. He goes up against Dennis Nielsen of Sweden, last year's semi-finalist, who was comfortable in defeating Australian Howard Jones. I'm Dan McCarthy, joined by Andrew Sinclair. And Andrew, we know that Gary Stone on his day is a huge talent. In your mind, is he a real contender for the title?
Absolutely. I've spoken about Gary's chances. I think I spoke to them on the live chat we did on this balcony at the start of the tournament last Friday. I think Gary's got a great chance to go a long way in this tournament. I think he's played great stuff this year. I think everyone is talking about Jimmy Van Skeet, of course, as a title favourite, and I know Neil Duff doesn't want to be written off, but you know, the big thing about Jimmy's game is his power scoring. And if you look at who is here, the person who I would say is best disposed to match Jimmy's power scoring, it's the Scotsman on the stage right now, and Gary Stone. Regularly produces high 90, 100 plus averages on the tour this year. Take the Denmark Open, for example, played some fantastic stuff to make the last 32, ran into Andreas Harrison and lost with 101 average. So Gary has tremendous ability, and I think, to be honest, his title resume doesn't do justice to the amount of talent that he has. And I'm thinking that this year is a really good chance for him to go deep. But he's up against someone in Dennis who has a far better World Championship record than him, semi-finalist here last year. And Dennis has been quite open about the fact that this hasn't been a very good year for him, performance-wise, but he looked in good form at the World Masters, a return to form, and as a workmanlike but solid performance to beat Howard Jones on Monday afternoon.
And he's looking at a first crack at a finish. One dart at the bullseye.
99. Gary requires 121.
Back comes Gary Stone. Treble 17.
57. Gary to require 25.
Nice start from the strongman. Dennis Nilsson holding his throw. Solid 18 darter to commence. Was never really pressurised by Howard Jones. He knows he's going to be in a much tougher game this evening.
Yeah, I think Howard was very nervous before that game on Monday. I saw him in the arena beforehand trying to compose himself, and I think maybe the occasion got to Howard a little bit, being back on English soil. But yeah, Gary, very different customer indeed.
140.
I think you look at the titles that Gary has won, he's always looked very impressive, and I look back to that Europe Cup singles win in 2012 in Turkey.
60.
And he beat Christian Kist 7-4 in the final. I think that underlined what Gary's always been capable of, but I think sometimes on the tour they are very long days, and I think sometimes perhaps those long days have got away from Gary, whereas in theory I've always felt that format for World Championships where it's just one game a day would suit Gary's practice and approach and preparations a little bit better than, you know, the 10-12 hour grind.
100.
Did lose to the eventual champion last year. Last 16 tie with Andy Bartons. Which was just an unfortunate product of the draw, the fact that that game took place relatively early in the competition.
That was a good recovery there from Gary. He was frustrated by the slip into the single three, but a good find. 18 leaves Dennis on 43. I imagine he'll go 3 for tops.
41. Going to require 50.
Double top for parity. There it is, it bent the wire on the way through. Did reach a final this year in Denmark, did Gary, losing to another Swede, Andreas Harrison. Not the match you alluded to, that was a different tournament in Denmark. One where neither player performed to their best, Andreas winning with a 79 average.
Yeah, that was a much more scrappy game, and I think they both had a bit of a laugh and joke over in Esbjerg that they'd produced magic between them the day before, and a lot more pedestrian on the Sunday. Gary playing a bit of a treasure hunt in the light box there for that lost flight.
Yeah, you don't want to look straight at it. I've seen spots for a couple of minutes now. Well recovered after the drift into the 5 segment.
It's much better from Gary, staying straight. It's been a positive start from Dennis, certainly better than some of his performance earlier this year.
121.
Started the year, Dennis, in a very promising position to get back here with the haul he accumulated from his run to the semis last year, but it was a string of early exits in the tournaments in his region meant that he had to do a little bit of chasing towards the back end of the season. Trips to Latvia and Hungary just about got him over the line in the end.
He's looking at a much stronger position now. Dennis Nilsson with a Shanghai finish re-establishes the lead. 2-1 to the Swede.
What a of the most affable characters on the tour, Dennis, although admittedly probably the firmest handshake as well. Big fan of my strongman, so me and Dennis have had conversations about his strongman background in the past. Scandinavia, a rich tradition of strongman history.
120.
We're looking to create a rich tradition of darting history as well, and we've spoken about on commentary throughout the course of the week how many impressive players are coming from Sweden now. Dennis being one of them. Has been around a fair while now.
Yeah, he's certainly the more experienced of the contingent that have been here this week, certainly in terms of big stage experience.
140. Carried by 138.
76 leaves him on 62. Come across for tens.
86.
Could look at the bullseye here. Maybe treble 15.
145.
Sat perched on top of the wire. Good game so far. Both players settling in nicely. 93 average for Stone, 97 for Dennis.
Yep. All four gone with throw, an 18 followed by an 18, and then a 15 darter followed by a 15 darter. So if that's anything to go by, you give Dennis the advantage, he might be getting it done a fair bit quicker. That's better from Gary.
121.
Did wonder with how wayward that first shot was, whether he planned to switch. He did have a little glance down the board. But Gary does also lean quite far over in his action, so not always the easiest tell with Gary.
123.
Unlucky. Cohen can't find his second 180 of the match. Hitting one with his very first visit.
45.
Winner of this time will take on Paul Lim. So get prepared to be unpopular.
64.
And then the darting fairy tale. It was a remarkable game yesterday between Paul and Kai Fan. I have to admit, I did think when it went to a deciding set that the duration of the game might catch up with a man of Paul's advanced years, but he showed that he's got more than enough stamina in the tank.
45.
And two trebleless visits mean that Dennis Nilsson is behind the curve. Make that three trebleless visits. Decent use of the bullseye means he can aim for the same target with the first two trebles. He will be afforded the chance.
55. He didn't require 150. 60. Gary required 93.
And treble 19. Up for double 18 for the first set against the darts.
Gary turned the first set. Gary Stone.
Well played, Gary Stone. Used the first dart at double 18 as a guide, and you can see from the celebration, the pursed lips. That could already be quite a big moment in this game.
85.
The mark of how talented Gary is the previous meeting he's had with Dennis, the Latvian Open last year. 104.5 average he scored against Dennis Nilsson.
Yeah, that was one of those tournaments, the Latvian Open, where the long day really didn't do Gary any favours on that occasion. He was playing some incredible stuff, and he felt he was going to be the man to stop Andy Barton's, but on that day he fell short, and it was actually a man we'll see later on tonight that went on to win the title at that Latvian Open. Mr. Francois Schweyen. He beat Gary 4-1 in the semis.
79.
Bad visit. Means Gary Stone not put under too much pressure for this 114. There's no guarantee he'll come back to the board, but 1, 2, 3 can be a tricky one.
53.
Yeah.
It's
a very slow walk away from the board then from Dennis after that previous visit. He could have been a spring in his step if he'd found that 16 for a shot at the ball, but not to be.
Gary requires 61.
Didn't want that, wanted treble 7, so double 2. It's one way to take out 61. 3 legs on the bounce now for the Scot.
Unlike many players, Gary's start in darts was he essentially bought a board and stuck it up in his loft and just started having a chuck with his mates. It just became a bit of a regular occurrence that they'd go around to Gary's for a few jars and a bit of a practice, and he realised that he was reasonably good and then worked his way up through the traditional route, Super League, County, and then playing for Scotland, where he has achieved his greatest success as a dart player.
100.
Also spent some time in the PDC as well. Still quite a relatively young man, Gary, only in his early 40s.
59.
Beginning to fire on all cylinders.
Gary requires 121. 57. Dennis requires 142.
It's a big ask for Dennis.
58. Gary requires 64.
Double top.
44.
Pulls it slightly low.
Dennis requires 84.
Dennis should get one dart at the ball minimum here. Harder now, treble 17.
Well, since taking out Shanghai, Dennis has not had a single dart at double.
No.
If he doesn't start creating chances for himself, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I hesitate to use the phrase first start merchant, but that is a big strength of Dennis's game. He does tend to, the way his darts lie on the board, use the first as a guide. and try and stack them closely together. And in the first leg, they were lining up nicely for him. And he was finding trebles with regularity and keeping pace with Gary in the scoring stakes. That's better, but in the last few legs, scoring has been a lot more erratic.
100.
Dennis did admit after his opening round win over Howard Jones that he did feel the pressure of expectation this time round. Last year he felt he played with a lot of freedom because a huge amount wasn't expected of him. You know, he beat the England captain James Hurrell, he beat Wesley Plaisier. He was underdog in most games, whereas this year people know what he's about and expect a lot from him.
Well, Dennis is back on form. That's a fantastic 12 darter to end the rot. Stone had won the last 4 legs. You could argue that it was last year's World Championship where Dennis kind of reintroduced himself to show people what he's capable of. Had the highest average in last year's tournament.
Yeah, that remarkable quarter-final victory over Wesley Plaisier.
43.
Now Gary appears to be feeling the pressure somewhat, although that's not a great dart from Dennis.
81. 121. 140. 100. Dennis acquire 143.
Lots of time on his side.
57. 41.
No treble means no finish on for Gary, and means Dennis has got 6 to level things up.
54. 82.
Important last treble. Losing treble to single to double if he comes back. Fantastically navigated. It looked like the flight from the first start was in the way. It covered a section of that double 16 bed.
But yeah, Dennis made that little shuffle down the oche and made it work for him. I think you said Gary played a lot less on the tour this year. I think this being the second World Championships that was determined by a 2-year ranking table meant that Gary's excellent performances in 2023 put him in a very favourable position at the start of this year and allowed Gary, I think, to, you know, he had a few things going on in his personal life as well, some good things happening, and I think it meant that he could just be a little bit more picky about what he played and where, and you know, maximise the weekends with big points, i.e. Denmark and Ireland, and then focus on other opportunities as and when they arose for him, whether that was in Scotland or Portsmouth or anywhere in between. But the talent is still there, for sure.
83.
Maybe there was some thought process behind it.
Yeah, perhaps pondering if maybe he would have preferred a switch.
60. Going to require 112.
Treble 18, but this can still be done.
56.
Double top for a 2-set lead.
46.
Not been blessed with many darts at double in this set. It might belong to Dennis if he strikes the bullseye.
90.
Dennis hit a brilliant 1-2-1 in the final set against James Hurrell last year, but not to be on that occasion.
Not to be for Gary Stone. 5-set darts missed. Double 14. It's the ultimate punishment from the strong man. Gary Stone will be stewing as he goes off for the break. That's 3 legs in a row. Kick started by a fantastic 12 darter. Stone will be furious. He'll think it should be 2-0, but Dennis Nilsson stuck in there. The scoreline is 1 apiece.
Open until January the 15th. The Toto Dutch Open Darts is by far the largest darts party in the world that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go silver and bronze class WDF tournament in Canada in 2025, with the winners of the 501 singles directly qualifying for the Lakeside World Championships. Come join North America's best dart shooters in Toronto. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August. A popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrowsmiths, the double silver weekend always provides great entertainment. The Latvian Open and Riga Open are held from October 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much-needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description.
He's going to collect his darts.
I think it's the scoreboard, but the scoreboard's often not updated
84.
by the time he's taken his visit. Kerry?
Those 5-set darts he had in the second. Could be such a more comfortable position.
I think so.
60.
There's certainly frustration there for Gary, which it would serve him well to try and put that behind him and just get back doing what he does best. Big scores.
41.
Just the 2 180s from so far you'd certainly have expected through 12, almost 13 legs for him to have produced more fireworks.
99. 60.
He looks exasperated. I don't know what's changed.
Well, it would appear, I think those 5-set darts and then the break, whatever rhythm he may have had in the early going, it's just not working for him. Doesn't seem happy with how he's lying in the board. Well, his darts are.
43.
And there's been too many of those drifts to the right, to the left, into the 5 and the 1, particularly the 1, and he's getting frustrated. Now appears to be, I think, talking to himself.
125.
I think the darts in the last visit, they weren't horribly thrown. They were just perched on the top wire.
And he seemed annoyed at the first one, as though it had not gone in as he had hoped.
go as Dennis hoped, but fear not, he's coming back.
Yeah. But this is what, you know, when the bookmakers' odds were first released, Gary Stone was initially tournament favourite. And this now, these moments where you're behind, where things aren't going your way, is where we see what a champion is made of. Neil Duff showed how it was done last night. Was 2-1 down, was being outscored and arguably outplayed by Reece Colley. But he found it in him, showed the nerves of a champion to get the job done.
He's going to have to show nerves of steel, incredible courage and incredible bottle to come back from this. 180 on the cards. Doesn't get it, but it's a very good opening salvo. I think even the most ardent Dennis Nilsson fans would accept that Gary is the better scorer. He's got the most natural talent of the two. Dennis has shown fortitude. Stone's third maximum. And listen, Gary Stone is the kind of player who can rattle off 3 12-darters on the bounce, and then that would put us back on level terms. He needs to find a burst of a similar sort. Double 12. Okay, that's an 11-darter. That's progress.
And that is the sort of Gary Stone that can contend for this championship. But he's got to keep doing that. Doesn't necessarily have to be 11 every time, but legs, he needs to win legs consistently in 4, likely 5 visits. And your cause to do that isn't helped when your first 2 darts drift wide, and Dennis will want to punish that, but yeah. I mean, that leg showed what Gary is capable of. And it's impressive to see him produce it, because in that third set, he cut a very frustrated figure on that stage.
121.
Thought he was going to fill it up again then. This feels a very evenly poised and an important leg. A break for Gary would give him the chance to serve this one out, and then suddenly, from Dennis having looked like momentum had firmly gone in the Swede's way, Stoney would be in a strong position on an upward trajectory once again, but he needs a treble here.
60. And then it should require 145. 121.
Terrific setup. Double 12 for Dennis Nilsson. That's about as much emotion as we've seen from him. Knocking to the ground.
54.
Stone tried to go for the double-double. Splits, 2 for double 2. Maybe needed to be more direct, who knows? It's another stepping stone for Gary.
Ever since that first set where everything went with throw until Gary took out 93, this has been a game of streaks. Gary had that 4-leg burst, Dennis 6, and now Gary has 1-2 on the spin.
100.
This stage does seem to bring out the best in Dennis, though, after the performances last year and this. I know towards the end of October, Dennis went to Latvia. I actually was sat with him at the World Masters when he booked his flights to Riga, because he came up to me in a rather confused state and said, Andrew, my friend, do I need to go to Latvia? Do I have enough points?
100.
And I said, well, Dennis, I can't answer that for you. I think you're fine, but you may need to go. He books his flights to Riga, and then I think perhaps because he was in about 2 minds about going, when he got there, didn't play particularly well. It was a string of low 70s averages. He did pick up some points in the end, but really not at his best on that day. He was the strong man, but he's come here. Looked good against Howard Jones, certainly grew into the contest as it wore on, and he's been very impressive in this one, although this leg has been all about the man from Scotland.
140.
This set could be all about the man from Scotland. Double top. Only just in the 7. So has to take a step back.
Not to be.
I've already seen him take this. Will history repeat itself?
100.
Not this time. Double 10 puts Gary Stone back level. Now, Dennis can't let that affect him too much, but it has been a streaky game. 3 legs in a row for Stone. That was preceded by 6 for Dennis, and that was preceded by 4 for Stone. I think to me that indicates that Gary has reset well in his mind.
60.
That's 3 sets now where in the first leg he's managed to hit a maximum. Big yelp from someone in the crowd. They only sent our referee Christian Sorensen into a bit of a tailspin.
140. Gary require 155.
It's down to 65. Dennis 1 higher. Double 18. He's proving very, very difficult to put away.
Second leg, Gary to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, that 4th set was particularly impressive from Gary, because I think the 3rd was, he was sad to watch him in many ways, because he looked like a beaten man. He was incredibly frustrated. It was scattergun every visit, and it looked as though Dennis had got the mental edge on him, but that last leg. Well, the last set was very good, and the last set Gary was poised on 65, but Dennis found a way. Has to move here as those two are both low.
100. 140.
No treble for Dennis.
Yeah, Gary will want to turn the screw here and leave himself a manageable finish.
81.
Oh, it's a finish.
That's just a finish, yeah.
Not an easy one, but one that feels incredibly sweet if you can take it out.
59.
Likes to leave top, so might be tempted with treble 17 first.
Tried to do the Jarno Bottenberg. Tops 131.
71.
Not to be. And talking of Jarno, Gary is the last Scot standing in this men's tournament. Jarno beat Ryan in, how are we phrasing it, a fiery clash?
Spiky circumstances.
We also saw, oh dear. We also saw Mark Barilli fall at the first hurdle, unfortunately for him. It's not a happy hunting ground for the Greenock man.
Gary's lucky that Dennis left a bogey number.
60. Gary requires 60.
This is going to be high.
Is it too high?
20. Dennis require 102.
Could have gone for the bullseye with the last shot to leave a 2-darter. That's a great dart.
70.
What is it about Dennis Nilsson and thrillers on the Lakeside stage? A similar kind of game with James Hurrell. Gary Stone will probably feel like he's got away with it. 22 dart hold of throw. That's a horrible dart for Dennis.
39.
Horrible visit.
Tried to go the sort of what feels now the old school route on 302, starting on 18s, but
140.
no joy. But Gary did find it. I was going to go with a line of duty themed mackerel sprat analogy then, and I realised midway about to say it, I was going to cock it up, so abandoned ship.
Double 19 as Dennis is left on a bogey again.
79. Gary required 19.
Sneak in front. To go one leg away from a place in round 3. It's fair to say that Gary is aptly named because he's showing plenty of stones up there. There were times when he looked beaten. Times when he looked disheartened.
100.
do wonder if some of that was nerves, pressure, expectation. More people, I think, than ever talking about him as a contender this year. And he'll know that if he does come through this,
41.
there is more in the tank. If he can straighten up the scoring, he'll be down to those finishes quicker, more often.
And look, I think you've got to consider as well, Dennis has already had a game up there. Gary's not played here for a year.
100.
There's a period of readjustment.
Absolutely.
He's not a prolific maximum hitter, Dennis Nilsson. That's just his second of the game.
140.
Stone gets down to Shanghai. 140 would be perfect for the Swede.
100.
Leaves a 2 darter.
120.
Is he going to give himself a match dart? Yes, he is.
100. Today you require 76.
Gasps and groans. Oh, it's got to be 25 and bull. Oh, he's nailed the bullseye. Exactly when he didn't want to.
He's got to compose himself now, Dennis. He has to try and leave a finish.
68.
On the off chance that 3 more match starts go begging for Gary Stone.
Double 10 for round 3. Double 5. Gary Stone, one of the pre-tournament favourites, has survived a massive scare against the Swedish strongman Dennis Nilsson. A game of streaks. It looked like it was getting away from Stone after he scuppered chances for a 2-0 set lead, but ultimately showed his class and maybe more importantly showed plenty of bottle as he's beaten Dennis Nilsson 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep your applause going for Dennis Nilsson. And into round 3, Scotland's Gary Stone. Ladies and gentlemen, a 10-minute break, 10 minutes, and we will be back with our next match, and that is from the ladies' competition as Rihanna Solomon takes on Lorena Rietbergen.
World that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go to Lakeside in December 12th. City of Esbjerg. The Golden Denmark Open provides the champions a direct qualification into the 2025 Lakeside World Championships. Along with the Silver Denmark Masters, it's a tournament weekend to look forward to. Championships. Come join North America's best dart shooters in Toronto. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August. A popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrowsmiths, the double silver weekend always provides great entertainment. The Latvian Open and Riga Open are held from October 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much-needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description. A special thanks to our tournament sponsors and partners, Mission, Blaze, Quiff, Great Game, Dart Connect, L-Style and MasterCooler.com.
3 seed and 2-time runner-up at Lakeside, Rhian O'Sullivan. It's hard to believe the last of those finals came back in 2011 when she lost to Trina Gulliver for the 2nd consecutive year. 2024 for Rhian has basically been defined by losing finals to Bo Greaves. Lost the World Masters final, the World Open, the Welsh Classic, the Welsh Open. Bo has been her nemesis, but importantly, they are in different halves of the draw, and many are tipping Rhian for a big run to the final. Her first assignment comes in the form of the talented young Dutch woman, Lorena Rietbergen, who didn't play well against Maud Jansen in her first round match. Not reflective of her abilities. She is a multiple title winner this year. It's a big test for her, Andrew Sinclair. Is it a bridge too far against Rhian?
Look, if she plays like she did the other day, then 100%. I think my worry for Lorena's first game was that she would always have the scoring power advantage over Maud Jansen, but if she wasn't put under pressure, some of her double troubling issues could arise, and that was ultimately what did happen in that one. She did struggle on the outer ring, but got there in the end. Against Rhian, you can't afford those misses, so I think under more pressure, you will see a better performance from Lorena, but just on terms of past form, and particularly past form on this stage, yeah, Rhian is rightly the favourite. Although, I would point out that Rhian recent times hasn't been playing phenomenally well. World Open, Masters, some inconsistent performances, but enough to get to those finals. But ultimately ended up being able to find minimal resistance against Bo, beat a combined 11-0 across the 2 finals in Budapest.
131, Uruguay 133.
Fast start from both players. This is going to be a very quick game. It will zip along nicely.
71.
Double 10.
61. Uruguay 52.
And that leaves double 14. Accidental double 12.
35. Uruguay 10.
Rather messy. Lorena steps in. Confident start, and she'll probably have taken big confidence from winning the bullseye in the practice room against Rhian.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lorena really, it was once she won her first title, I think the belief was there that she could convert all the promise she showed as a youth, which ultimately her youth career ended up coming to an end at the wrong time, really. She aged out of the youth section round about the end, you know, the pandemic times, which meant that she wasn't really able to step up in the seamless way that perhaps she had been hoping to.
20. Uruguay 40.
So a chance for an early break.
30. Uruguay 40.
Chances passed up.
She defeated Ireland's Robin Byrne, and to say Rhian was over the moon would be an understatement. I went to shake her hand after she won, and she ended up just giving me a very firm hug on the verge of tears. And
I think there'll be a different kind of tears if this continues, because Lorena has stepped up massively from her first match. I did like the play of hers on 202. She hit the treble 20 and then went down for 2 treble 17s to try and leave tops. It's like the Dutch almost invented board management.
yeah, Lorena classically schooled and was part of the Dutch women's team at the Europe Cup this year. Had a rather healthy haul of medals in the end, the Dutch team.
60.
Rhian was also a medalist there. her and her close friend Eve Watson, a very dangerous player who I think it would be fantastic to see Eve on this stage in future years. Her and Eve got runner-up in the women's pairs.
56. 41. 139. Junior by 141. 45.
First darts out of Rian's hand almost before our referee Gary Roderick has finished calling. Double 18.
30. Rian Uruguayan 96.
Now double 18 for Rian.
60. Marina Uruguayan 36. 28.
There is an argument that she maybe does go a bit too quickly at times.
Yeah.
Double 16.
A
A real growl from Rian O'Sullivan.
Well, she's having to work hard for this. There is a very metronomic nature to Lorena's action, which, as you say, is partly why she's such a big scorer, but perhaps why she doesn't always give herself enough time on the outer ring, and that does sometimes mean that she ends up having to chase it around the board or squanders opportunities like the last one, which can prove costly, particularly in a set play format.
55. 58.
At Rian's action, it's almost as if there's no backswing, it's more upswing. And then just
22.
pushes the arm forward.
Yeah.
That's why she can be so quick.
Lorena's is much more as though it's on almost a pulley mechanism where it gets to a certain point and then releases and then comes back, and
Like a catapult.
absolutely. And yeah, as I say, she doesn't have a nickname yet. Lorena, maybe could call her the Zulu because they do feel like spears. But
The catapult.
it could well be the catapult as well. We might have to suggest these to her afterwards.
83.
Again, opted not to
Uruguayan 139.
treat the Lakeside crowd and the viewers to the usual shirt that she wears with the
59.
rubber ducks on. Potentially that might make an appearance if she wins this one.
43.
Winner
Uruguayan 80.
Winner will be back on Friday afternoon.
Double top for the first set.
In shots. And the first
I
set.
don't think too many predicted this to happen.
Second set. First
Not
leg,
least,
Rian
Rian
to
O'Sullivan.
go first. Iman.
Yeah.
60.
Reina definitely has stepped up her game on her game against Maud Jansen, which,
99.
as we were saying at the top of this match, it was largely what I expected. When she's under a little bit more pressure, I felt that Lorena would rise to the challenge rather than potentially feeling too relaxed possibly and being dragged down to a lower level. But her scoring so far has been prodigious, and her doubling hasn't been great. It's been a lot better than it was, but she's being able to punish Rian's misses but also convert more of her own chances than against Maud on Monday afternoon.
26. 60.
Rian's keeping them straight, but she's struggling to find the treble.
58.
There's the first.
100.
Gets to a finish after 15. They've not been badly thrown darts, they've just not quite been the correct way.
You require 161.
81 left.
95. Karina, you require 118.
And this would be a hammer blow. Double top. What a finish from Lorena Rietbergen. Rhiannon O'Sullivan might be feeling a bit panicky now.
And this is where the confidence of having won 5 ranking titles this year comes in handy.
60.
Because she's used to being at the business end and playing against the better players on the WDF women's circuit.
100.
Winner plays Aletta Via in the quarterfinals, and I think either player would fancy their chances.
26.
Could be an old Dutch clash.
Absolutely. Lorena and Aletta will know each other well from Dutch ranking tournaments.
87.
Also both being part of that Dutch squad for the Europe Cup that I referenced earlier.
43.
It's just not clicking for Rianne now, and she's firmly under the cosh. Ball doesn't leave a finish, but
43.
Rianne's still unable to make inroads. Just 3-2-9 after 4 visits.
98.
Rare miscount from Lorena, but it doesn't really matter.
60. Lorena, you require 68.
Double 16.
36.
I mean, this half of the draw, people were talking about Rianne, people were talking about last year's finalist, Eileen de Graaf, and people were talking about Lisa Ashton. Well, Lisa's gone, and if Lorena pins this, Rianne will be on the brink of going the same way. Something to move now.
In charge of the second leg.
With the last dart in hand, Lorena Rietbergen goes within 1 leg. Last visit from Rianne, I don't really know what she was thinking. A ton on 269 to leave the bogey number.
81.
She's just been put under enormous pressure by this talented 22-year-old.
If Lorena goes on to win this game, would you regard this as a bigger shock than Sophia McKinley beating Lisa Ashton?
Ooh, I don't know. Oh, that's a very tough question. I think possibly not, because I would say that, you know, Rianne's form hasn't been as consistently excellent coming in. I think the Sophie one, I think I was just so impressed by Sophie's performance and the fact she withstood Lisa's comeback, whereas at the moment, it looks as though Lorena's almost beaten Rianne into submission, but this is better. Yeah, I think the Lisa one still stands out just because Sophie, just 18 years of age, but this is still an incredible performance, and Lorena closing in now on an 80 average, and more importantly, the finish line.
85. Lorena, you require 112.
Another bogey number left by Rianne.
43.
Too many of those types of visits.
You require 63.
63 left for another real surprise in the women's competition this year.
She misses the big number, and that leaves her on 46, so 14. Oh, no, she goes 6 for tops.
You require 123.
She's hit tops 3 times. Rianne needed treble 18 for the bull.
97. Lorena, you require 40.
have we got a surprise package in the women's tournament? Rietbergen, who struggled in her first round match, came up against a two-time Lakeside runner-up and swept her aside in straight sets. Rian was not at the races, and Lorena looks like she cannot believe what she has just achieved. Rian O'Sullivan 0, Lorena Rietbergen 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, another 10-minute break, and we will be back with our next match, the first of the men's third round matches, as François Schweyen takes on Brian Rama.
Tickets for the 2025 WDF Lakeside World Championships go on sale this Friday at 6 p.m. Head over to www.eventbrite.co.uk to grab the best seats. The 46th annual Winmore Fleetwood Memorial Las Vegas Open will be held from January the 17th till the 19th. Sin City welcomes you to come and play in the entertainment capital of the world. Men's and women's champions win Bucharest. Register to play by Wednesday 22nd of January and kickstart the new WDF ranking season in historical Bucharest. The Toto Dutch Open Darts is held from January the 30th till February the 2nd. Registration is open until January the 15th. The Toto Dutch Open Darts is by far the largest darts party in the world that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go to Lakeside in December 20. City of Esbjerg, the Golden Denmark Open provides the champions a direct qualification into the 2025 Lakeside World Championships. Along with the Silver Denmark Masters, it's a tournament weekend to look forward to. Toronto. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August, a popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrows. 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description. A special thanks to our tournament sponsors and partners, Mission, Blaze, Quiff, Great Game, Dart Connect, L-Style and MasterCooler.com.
Belgium versus Belgium as we begin the men's third round in the 2024 Mission WDF Lakeside World Championship. And we reigning Italian Open champion, the Riddler, Brian Rama. Welcome to the stage, Budapest Masters semi-finalist and Riga Open finalist, the former Latvian Open and Belgian Open champion, François Schweyen.
We now move on to round 3 of the Men's World Championship here at Lakeside. And Belgium have been very successful so far in this tournament, unbeaten. So that's going to come crashing to an end in the next hour or so. It was Brian Raman who opened the show on Friday against Corny at Groeneveld, and then he defeated the number 15 seed Martin Turner. He achieved both of those wins by coming from behind, went 1-0 down to Groeneveld, ground out a 2-1 win. He went 1-0 down to Turner, survived set darts for a 2-0 deficit, ended up winning 3-1. He's averaged 87 on both occasions, so there have been some consistency in the Riddler's performances. The former WDF world #1. He comes up against the more methodical and measured François Schweyen, who's KO'd a couple of Aussies, Michael Cassar on the opening evening, and the #1 seed, Danny Porter. That was more of a workmanlike performance. I put it to you, Andrew Sinclair, that if both players play their A games, Brian will win because he's got higher levels, but he's got to deal with the slightly slower pace of François.
Yes, absolutely, and I think François is a great finisher, so not necessarily a fantastic scorer or not necessarily to the same scoring capabilities that Brian's got, but Francois is proficient on the outer ring, and he's always a challenging opponent to come up against. But yeah, Brian certainly enters this one as the favourite. Do you find Francois, they both, well, these two are both young family men, got children at home that mean the world to them, but no, as a character I do find Francois interesting. He always practices with his coat on. It was the cold out there in the practice room, but I noticed it in the World Masters in Budapest as well, so clearly just a quirk for the man nicknamed the Clock. Does have one of the more idiosyncratic throws in this year's tournament.
58.
Lots of moving parts. Ryan's throw is one word: quick.
100. Francois Unicorn, 152.
Hang about.
128. Brian Unicorn,
Good setup.
52.
Double 16.
1-0
Brian Roman. The favourite gets out of the traps quickest.
And both of these men secured their, well, didn't secure, but moved large steps closer to securing their spots here. It was the same weekend over in beautiful Riccione, Italy. Francois got a quarter-final and a last 32, and those points were pretty much enough to mathematically get him in, whereas Brian went all the way in the Italian Open, a first WDF title in 3 years, and one that meant an awful lot after his injury, heartache and difficulties, and yeah, gave him 90 important ranking points to get him here, although it was upsetting for him as well because he had to beat the man he mentors, Santi Vandenberg, in the final, and that did put a pin in Santi's hopes of making a debut this year, but I'm sure we'll see Santi here in the future.
Well, sometimes you've got to be cruel to be kind, and Brighton, who isn't just mentoring Santi, he's mentoring a few players here, and bearing in mind he's only 28, it's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders.
Yep. Talk about the future of Belgian darts. One of their brightest young hopes, Lex Parshouse, the boys' world master. He arrived at Lakeside earlier today. Get his campaign underway tomorrow.
90. Brian Unicorn, 152. Francois Unicorn, 10.
Straight at double 5. Down for double 2. Francois levels the game up.
Playing the throw first.
Fairly comfortable hold.
94.
What we will see at points from Brian will be very unusual routes to check out certain numbers. He's left on 92 against Martin Turner, hit a single one. Now the convention dictates you go treble 17 for tops. Brian opted for treble 19 for double 17, and I actually had a really interesting conversation with him in the hotel bar, and he was talking about not just hitting 180s, but he was talking about not wanting to go all the way around the board. He'd rather go for 2 targets at the bottom end of the board so that the switch isn't quite as pronounced, because he feels it's more rhythmic.
Yeah,
so
it makes a lot of sense. Months, it's credit to him and his work ethic.
32. Francois Unicorn, 72.
Leaves double 16. Francois will only get 1 poke at tops, maybe to save the set.
52. Brian Unicorn, 32.
Double 8.
16. Francois Unicorn, 20.
We'll try and control the pace of this game.
And as being shown at the forward
5 landed.
Yeah, Francois had a bit of a horror opening leg against Danny Porter on Saturday night. I think he was averaging 32 after the first leg, and yeah, as he retrieved his final visit from the board in that leg, he said to our referee on that occasion, Nick Rolls, "I'm not very good at this game, am I?" Well, he soon proved that he was. He won 9 of the next 11 legs to win in straight sets, but yeah, he's got quite a dry wit about him, Francois, but a very strong will to win as well. I saw him at the World Masters in Budapest where he played some very good stuff, but lost to a common opponent between these two, actually, Cornet Gronewald. He lost a very close, high-quality game, 5-4, and yeah, not sure Francois will be too happy about this, but, you know, he was very, very upset after that game and sat in floods of tears for quite a long time after that game because he felt the way that he was playing that day in Budapest that, you know, a stage semi-final at minimum beckoned for him, and one of those things where he got to leg 9 of 9 and it went the other person's way.
Single 20. Puts big pressure on 101. 4 tons. He's not going to be followed by a 101 checkout.
53. Francois Uruguay 40.
Brian looked to be in control, but as we've seen twice in this tournament already, he's lost the first set of his match. Now at least the Riddler's not going to be too disheartened. He's proven already that he can mount comebacks.
Second set, first leg.
Doesn't want to keep doing that. Wants to be a front runner.
Yeah. I mean, on Friday night, it was real danger zone stuff because that best of 3 format, you really can't afford to give too much away. But yeah, slightly longer tonight, so no need to panic or anything yet for Brian, and he knows that he did have chances to win that opening set.
Francois gets his first maximum. Brian gets his third. Definitely going for treble 18.
100. That's why you require 77.
11 dart potential. Double 10.
57. Brian, you require 121.
Treble 17. Leaves the bullseye.
90.
Brian not a happy bunny.
Stronger position. And with Brian scoring the way he is.
And it's 3 from 14.
180.
That treble 20 bed's going to be gasping for life at some point.
Yeah, Brian up to 14 maximums for the tournament now.
58. Brian, you require 123. 83.
I suppose because Francois wasn't on a finish, Brian opting to go 20s first. I would have thought he might have elected to start on 19s to leave the finish on, but didn't need to chase the ball.
40.
Double 5.
No score.
Okay, that's an interesting ploy with Francois on 180. One thing that Brian did say to me was that he hates tops. So in a way, I'm surprised he's gone back to it. Not a big fan of double 10 or double 5 either on that evidence. Francois is, and he's pitched that because Brian was cruising.
Yeah, Francois is a player that not many people who aren't ardent followers of the WDF circuit might know much about, because he doesn't play a huge amount of tournaments. He had a couple of incredibly successful weekends last year that put him on the verge of Lakeside qualification, and it meant that he knew.
43.
Frustrating follow-up to the perfect start.
It really is an interesting throw from Francois. He's almost got this trigger point where once the flight catches his nose, it's then sort of right, now we're ready to throw. It's very strange. I think one of our women's quarter-finalists, Jitka Sisajova, she has a very similar trigger point where she pulls the dart back and it's almost nuzzled right into her cheekbone, and then it goes forward. Yeah, idiosyncratic, but it works for them. And what do I know?
Does Brian know how to solve the 105 conundrum?
57.
Not this time.
81. Brian, you require 48.
Double 16.
16. Francois, you require
Needs to find a very tiny gap. Treble 18.
57. Brian, you require 32.
Brian's doubling has been scruffy, but this time he finds double 16. However, has to break the throw in order to ensure it's level pegging after 2 sets going into the break.
100.
I think we're all confused by that one.
96.
Reasonable recovery.
Average-wise, through most of these first 2 sets, Francois back where he was against Michael Cassar on Friday night, and much better than he was against Danny Porter up near the 87-88 range. But yeah, Brian slightly below where he was in those 2 games with Cornet and Martin, but not a huge amount in it.
136. 125.
Not happy at all with that last start was Brian.
40.
Francois won't be particularly happy with those.
81. Francois, you require 167. 57.
All in and around the treble. Francois gave the board a little curious look there, almost to say, why did none of you go in?
46. Francois, you require 110.
Triple 20. Double 16.
78.
Set dart
Brian,
missed.
you require 72.
Double top.
Let's game shot with the second
You can
set.
hear from the primal roar that Brian Rahman is back level. Not particularly happy with how he's playing, but he won't care. The throw is back on his side. It is Francois Schreyer 1, Brian Rahman 1. In the battle of the Belgians, it is Francois Schreyer 1, Brian Rahman 1. Could have been a lot different, but Francois missed that set dart. Brian Rahman stepped in and pounced on tops. A target he told me he doesn't like, but he loved it. And he let out a massive scream as both players departed in differing moods. Francois, not that he'll show it, he's much more poker face, will have been very disappointed to lose that set. Brian will have been desperate to win it. The darts are back with him, and that's probably given him the kick that he needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think very similar to our opening game between Gary Stone and Dennis Nielsen. This is a battle of two players who show their emotions in very different ways on the stage. Francois is much more stoic, quiet, unassuming. Brian is a very emotional character, wears his heart on his sleeve, and I think was very emotional in those first 2 sets about his own performance. And yeah, that roar at the end was significant. You do wonder sometimes whether he maybe gets a little too amped up, but it's working for him so far, and also hasn't drawn any real reaction from Francois.
59.
And I think statistically they've been pretty evenly matched. I think Brian, total power scoring, got the advantage.
180.
That's a second max for Francois compared to 4 for Brian, but
140.
they both made mistakes on the outer ring, and I think that's why we've had all 10 legs of a possible 10 so far.
Double 8.
111. Right, you require 102.
Close to a lovely finish.
54. Right, you require 60. That's being shown in the first one. First one. Second leg is Francois.
Still makes you think, does Brian? Would have left double 14 had he found the treble 18.
Yeah, more conventional route would have been the 14s, I would have thought, for tops, but obviously,
58.
as you said, that conversation you had with him, he's perhaps keen to avoid it, even though it has been a relatively happy hunting ground so far.
60.
In many ways, Brian Roman is looking to make up for lost time this week. Won his tour card in 2022, had 2 years with the PDC. It didn't happen for him. Injury stopped him from producing his best. He's come back to the WDF system and he's relished it this year, making his lakeside return. A win here would match what he achieved in 2022 before he lost to Dutchman Richard Veenstra.
Yeah, he was in great nick in 2022, although did have a scare that year and had to come from behind against the punk, Johnny Haynes.
It's another 127 attempt. This one will have to go on the bull.
95. He's
He's missed some of these big combination shots. Brian Roman does not.
Standard ramping up at the start of this third set. A 13 dart break for Francois, followed by a 14 dart break for Brian. On paper, to me, this did have the potential of a game that went all 25 of the possible legs here. Best of 5 sets, best of 5 legs in each set, and yeah, there's no 2 clear legs in that final set, even at this third round, last 16 stage. So could well be we get to 2-2 and 2-2 in the last set, and it's a 1 leg 501 shootout, but still a lot of darts to be played before we get to that point.
132.
That visit, one of the first we've seen Francois actually talking to himself. First start pushed high and wide into the big 5, and Francois said something, although my Flemish stroke Dutch stroke French is perhaps not what it could be, particularly from a lip reading point of view. I'm sure it was something nice and pleasant.
139.
Whispering sweet nothings to himself if he comes back and takes 152.
62. Francois Unicorn 152.
Won't he just? Double 16. Oh, what a checkout that is. Biggest of the match so far. Struck with such composure.
And that time there was real emotion and aggression from Francois. The majority of the Dutch and Belgian players involved in the tournament here are supporting Brian, or are very close to Brian, not there against Francois per se, but have close allegiance to Brian. And I think perhaps that was a response to some of their shouting and encouragement there from Francois. As long as they shake hands at the end, it's all fine then.
No indication that there's any tension between the two players. No finish can be left now. That could cost Brian.
Yeah, 2 visits in a row where he was grouped right to the left-hand side of the bed, and then the third dart slipped the other way.
Should look at the bullseye here.
59. Brian Weening on 111.
Double 16.
79.
Yeah, Francois not going to finish now. Backed himself to find the treble 20 rather than play the percentage on the ball.
32. Let's give him shoulder to forward.
Instant bite back for Brian.
Yeah, and 4 breaks on the spin in this third set.
57.
No margin for error from either man, and it means that for the third set in a row, it'll all go to the final leg.
60.
I was surprised to learn that he used to have only got 1 recorded meeting. He was in the Challenge Tour 3 years ago. Francois winning 5-3. Very even standard, 83 averages apiece, and it's quite even here, 89 apiece.
It's definitely ramped up in this third set from both men.
180.
Half a dozen maximums. Being struck by the former WDF #1.
42. Brian Weening on
Francois wasn't even looking at the board when he threw that. Double 8.
108. 139. Brian Weening on 16.
The third set. Oh, that's lucky.
Let's give him shoulder to first.
Looking at that, as Brian Roman looks across with a nice smug smirk on his face. Francois, the older of the two, doesn't have as much stage experience, but he has played in 3 European Tour events on the PDC as a Belgian host nation qualifier. Just unfortunately didn't emerge with any victories.
96. 60. 60.
3 well-thrown darts there from Brian, but none in the treble. And trebles starting to prove elusive for Francois.
100.
Does well to catch one with the last dart, but Brian will be looking to apply more pressure here if he can.
59.
Dropped out of his hand a little bit too soon. Double top for Francois.
And as you can show in the first line. First line. Second is playing the throw first.
It's an absorbing contest.
97.
If we're going purely on leg play, it's 8-all. I've played every possible leg so far.
85.
Yeah, and there's been no real margin for error.
100.
The longest streak either man has gone on is 2 legs in a row, so goes to what we've said, is that this is a very evenly matched clash.
140.
And one that's seen Francois really step up on how he needed to play to beat Danny Porter in the last 32.
Winner of this will face the winner of our first game tomorrow afternoon. Carl Wilkinson takes on the number 9 seed Thomas Younghans. So Younghans, the Swiss player, the only seed left in this top quarter.
Yeah, was impressive yesterday, Thomas, in coming through against young James Beaton.
Double top. He loves Dodds. Don't let him tell you any different. It will be a hard defeat to take for whoever loses, because the standard between both players has been so even.
Absolutely, no inch has been given really by either man. So I often say you learn more from your defeats than your victories. An expression that's often lost in the heat of the moment, but you know, if it's Brian that falls short here, then I'm sure he'll take the lesson that he has rebuilt his game to close to the point he needs it to be at if he's to kick on and fulfill his potential. And for Francois, it's proof that he belongs at the top level. At the moment, it's Brian who's trying to wrest back control of this fourth set.
100. Brian, you require 161. 65.
Uses the ball to get to a treble to single to double. Now for treble 19.
177.
Perfection in the setup. 2 double 19s.
47. That's why you require 36.
And then he was looking for 25 to leave double 60. Francois steps in.
Collins playing the throw first. Game on. 140.
Well, that is an indication of just how much Brian dislikes tops. The fact that he was willing to go for the bull and risk leaving 7.
Absolutely.
83.
But that bottom section of the board, as we discussed, he feels very confident down there, Brian. The 19s and the 17s. Maybe not so much on the 3s and the 2s, but it's all in the same neck of the woods. But yeah, phenomenal setup play from Francois, but not able to build on it in this leg, which means that, again, it feels like he's chasing.
128. 97.
This isn't really the important leg for Francois.
No. Every other set has gone to the last leg, so you've got every feeling that this one will as well.
30. Brian Weening, 92.
Francois looks to have accepted defeat.
Let's give Sean the forward. Brian, 5th place first, through first. Game on.
Roman looking more clinical on the doubles now.
136.
Yeah, he feels like he's in a real flow state. I think they both have been, to be honest, since we've come back from that break
60.
at the end of the second set. Legs since then 13, 14, 15, 14, 13, 18, 15, 16, 14. So really high standard, all bar 2 in the 5-visit range. So been a very high standard since the break, and you know, both men have tightened up. But that's 2 treble-less visits in a row from Brian, which he can ill afford when he could have been with a fair wind thrown for the match in this leg.
135.
Brian knows at least he's got the advantage of throwing the final set. Should we advance that far, and it's looking increasingly likely.
48.
Tried to go with the ball to leave himself either 65 or tops, drifted wide.
60.
82 still achievable for Francois, and he's got time.
42.
Won't overly concern him.
58 leaves Brian on 182.
70. That's why you require 40.
Something we see from Luke Littler. Does his best to leave 170. But he won't get the chance.
5th and final set, first leg. It's Brian the throw first. Game on.
Well, a fan in the crowd tried to offer encouragement to Brian just as he was throwing, so while it wasn't badly intentioned, I think it may have put Brian off with the first start.
120.
Choosing the 18 switch more often.
63.
Straight 140 leaves a finish, so Brian thinking ahead very early on in the leg.
100. 30.
That's a slip.
140.
It's punished. Brian needs a 180 to restore order.
81. That's why you require 141.
Good look at the bull. Back for treble 19.
63.
This has been an excellently well-matched game between two compatriots.
97.
20 legs played, 10 legs apiece.
That's why you require 78.
Double top.
Let's give it
A mega break of throw in the final set.
Second legs Francois throw first. Game on.
Yeah, the last set went completely with throw, so if that had been the case this time, it would be the Riddler Brian Roman waltzing into the last 8.
180.
But now, you fear the clock may be ticking for him. 15 dart breaker throw for Francois, and then a third 180, and then he's back in the treble again. Boo.
85.
A 9-darter is probably the last thing on Francois' mind. He's solely thinking about that quarter-final spot.
140. 100. 180. That's why you require 136.
Incredible. 180 apiece when the stakes are so high.
56. Right, you require 121.
Treble 17.
42. That's right, you require 80.
We've seen him hit this before. We've seen Brian hit it before. He'll have to go single for tops.
Francois Cheyen is one leg away from reaching the quarterfinals. And in particular, what's been impressive, the tops and tens, his range has been fantastic.
100.
Yeah. It's making me sound a lot more clever than he did in the early stages. He's been very clinical as this game has worn on, Francois, on the outer ring. But, I mean, truth be told, there's been absolutely nothing in this game. It's been a thrilling battle between these two.
60.
Both men looking to emulate the achievement of their compatriot Andy Barton's last year.
81.
It's been an amazing 12 months for Belgian darts with Barton's achievement, Dimitri Vandenberg winning the UK Open, Mike De Decker winning the World Grand Prix. And there's a hunger in these two players to go and do the same, to go and be winners.
81. 57.
I said before that Francois has perhaps thrived on the tour as a bit of an underdog, a bit of the unknown. Well, if he wins this one in the fashion he has, he'll beat an unknown and an underdog no more. I think we'll have to be talking about him as a title contender. But he's still got to get over that finish line.
Have to agree with that assessment.
60.
4 consecutive treble-less visits for Brian Roman. Is the gas running out?
54. Right, you go 164. 57. That's right, you go 135.
He'll start on the bullseye. At least that was the intent.
75.
Some nerviness in those first two darts.
81.
Can't buy a treble.
That's right, you require 60.
Double top.
40. Right, you require 26.
Brian made the choice to leave double 13. What a wise choice it was. He is clinging on for dear life. Francois could have been walking off stage now.
100.
He's being made to wait patiently.
Absolutely, and Brian, he looked skyward after that treble, double 13 found its home, and maybe feeling as if he's been given a reprieve from above in this one. You mentioned Francois' range on tops and tens. You think 2 darts at that top target. Perhaps Brian thought he was done.
92. 57.
He is starting to chase the trebles around the board a little bit, Brian.
96. 100.
Another big treble would have left 164. It would have given him half a chance, quarter of a chance. Errant last dart. Brian can't afford to go treble-less, and he does.
That's why you go up 145.
Treble 15. Double top for the match. And in the battle of the Belgians, it is the underdog who comes out on top. How many people were speaking about Francois Schweyen before the tournament started? Very, very few. They will be talking about him now. Brian Roman salutes the crowd. They were generally on his side, but it's Francois Schweyen who is a quarter-finalist at Lakeside.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it a first of all for Brian Roman. And the first final to the quarterfinals, Francois Schweyen. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 10-minute break and we will return for our final match of the evening as McGuirk takes on Weening.
Annual Winmore Fleetwood's party in the world that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go to Lakeside in December 2020. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August. A popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrowsmiths, the double silver weekend always provides great entertainment. The Latvian Open and Riga Open are held from October 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description. A special thanks to our tournament sponsors and partners, Mission, Blaze, Quiff, Great Game, Dart Connect, L-Style and MasterCooler.com.
2024 Mission WDF Lakeside World Championship. And we welcome to the stage the former FCD Anniversary Open Champion, the former Irish Open Champion, from the Republic of Ireland, the Arrow, Shane McGuirk. Welcome to the stage the former Muddy Bridge Classic and Muddy Bridge Grand Prix Champion, the reigning Pacific Masters Champion, from Australia, the Python, Brandon Weening.
It's been another superb evening of action here at Lakeside. Our first quarter-finalist in the men's tournament has just been confirmed. Francois Schweyen beating his Belgian compatriot Brian Raman in a 3-2 thriller. We welcome back to the stage a man who has broken records in this tournament. Shane McGuirk hit 9 from 9 on the doubles in his straight sets win against Edwin Torbjornsson, which is the first time in World Championship history across all codes that a player has hit 9 from 9 in a best of 5 sets match. I'll credit little Richard Ashdown with that statistic, and he's actually in the crowd to enjoy the action this evening. Good to see him back, and good to see Brandon Weening back, one of the Aussies remaining in the tournament. It wasn't an entirely comfortable debut against Jun Matsuda, but he proved a bit too strong for his Japanese opponent, winning 3-1 with an 82 average. But with averages of 92 and 96, he's going to have to up his game against Shane McGuirk. I'm delighted to welcome back to the commentary box another Australian darting legend, the guru Raymond Smith. You spent a little bit of time with Brandon today. How's he feeling ahead of this contest?
Yeah, he's feeling good. He knows what the job is ahead of him. Obviously, Shane's playing very, very well, very consistent as well, and as you said, hitting 100% on the doubles. When you're scoring well and you're pegging well, it's going to be very, very hard to beat, so it's all down to consistency now. But a lot of experienced heads around Brendan at the moment, so we sat at the back and we've kept things nice and calm.
Well, no more experienced head than his dad Wayne, who's made the journey across with his son. Lakeside participant numerous times in the 80s and 90s, a former quarter-finalist. Certainly someone to look up to for advice. But Shane McGuirk has had an interesting week. He was excellent in his round 1 contest, playing Mark Barilli of Scotland. And then he faced Torbjornsson of Sweden with that double display. Hasn't yet dropped a set. And he celebrated by going back to work for a couple of days. Flew across to the Emerald Isle. And he's back now. And he's a real dark horse for the title.
Yeah, no risk for the wicked. But if that's where you are and that's where you're comfortable and what you think you need to do, then absolutely.
100. She require 116.
Single 19. Double top.
96.
Breaking news, Shane McGuirk has missed a dart at double.
He was going to chime in there and say he's missed more doubles in the first leg than he did all game. I wonder if he's feeling the nerves a little bit. But, get those nerves out after the first leg. Starting well.
141.
He'll be aware of how well Shane has played in this tournament. Might use that to to spur him on to raise his own game.
Yeah, he definitely needs to narrow his focus after that first game. Too many errant darts, but his triple shooting was fantastic. It really kept him in the game because Jun Matsuda was very solid and right on Brennan's tail every leg. But the positive for Brennan is he absorbed all of that pressure through the whole game.
60.
Going for the setup there. I might have been more inclined to come back for the 60 after that first dart because he'd been hitting them well.
40.
No real damage yet, but needs a solid set this one. That's a big miss. Would have probably looked at the bull for a finish, but Shane McGuirk on that scoring pressure.
136.
Look for treble 16 to leave double 18. Wasn't particularly fond of the lie. And those two darts hit the treble.
60. Shane, you require 86. Check. Shane, you require 68.
And a bit of a reset required. It's a good first dart. Ooh, and a bust.
Brandon, you require 133.
And these are the opportunities where we'll go back to straight darts. If he had thrown nice straight darts in those 2 sets prior, he would have been coming back for a lot easier finish. But now he's got to be. There's no treble on this walk.
93.
Leaves
Wonder
tops.
if we might have seen him go treble 19 for 2 double 19s. We've seen Damon Hetter and Simon Whitlock favour that route before. Shane McGuirk favours hitting doubles wherever he can.
Third lady, Shane, throw first. Game on.
Yeah, I know it's early doors there, and Brandon's got to let that one go. Don't think about it. It's a bit hard when you're 2-0 down and your opponent's kicking off with a 180 though.
It's not entirely possible to group 3 darts closer together in the treble.
Brando's moving around the board a lot very early in this game. Not normally his style.
134.
And Shane putting a lot of scoreboard pressure on at the moment.
100.
It's a great, good set there from Brando. And that's where his strength lies, you know, putting 3 darts together. That's a
171.
fantastic set. A 180 and a 171 in the same leg. He has 16 left for a 10-dart leg.
Haven't seen a 10-dart leg yet this week.
96. Shane, you require 16.
Shane McGuirk is breaking barriers.
Adjusting the line.
No score.
I thought with a clip on that flight that he might drag himself in, but it's just dipped a little bit and gone under.
100. Shane, you require 16.
Brando's chipping away at the moment, which is what he has to do.
Okay, so the first set. Shane McGuirk. Second set, first leg. Brandon to throw first.
It's an ominous sign for Brandon early on.
Yeah, very, very quick work there, but and you see there Brando's just not able to find his front foot at the moment. The nerves are obviously pretty high. But in that leg there, Shane was on for a 10-dart leg, but Brendan come down. He could have had a shot if Shane missed, and that's all he needs to do, because it's not very often that your opponent's going to be shooting at 10-dart legs every leg.
95.
He's just got to find his rhythm and find his groove. That's a better shot. And that's where Brennan's strength is just throwing those straight darts and just weight of trebles.
140.
Shane's right behind him. Good play from Brendo there.
50.
Yes, another shot where Brendan just has to put a nice 140 together. Put some pressure on the 120. But got to be clinical.
60. Change require 120.
That's a lovely first start. Plenty of room to go over the top.
100. Brandon, you require 150.
And the shot you feel has to go for, well, not just for the state of the game, but for Brendan's confidence.
It's not being entirely clean on the doubles for Shane McGuirk, but Brandon struggling to apply any pressure, yet to have a dart at double himself.
Yeah, visibly frustrated at the moment. And this is not what you want to see from an Australian perspective at the moment.
Second leg, Shane to throw first. Game on.
This is where Brendan's going to have to draw on all of his experience. And as we said, Shane McGuirk is just scoring heavily at the moment and consistently heavy.
93.
Very difficult to play.
There is Australian interest elsewhere in this quarter of the draw. The winner of this could play either Peter Machin or Cliff Pryor.
60.
I was thinking the speed that Shane plays at, this might be better for Brendan's rhythm, but at the moment, not so much. He still looks like he's struggling to find his front foot.
96.
And it may only be a 1 degree out, but that 1 degree can put everything out from your hips to your shoulders, and you just can't find that line. Or you can't find the right weight because your body's fighting itself to try and throw the dart. And it's telling because Brendan hasn't hit many first darts. But he's staying solid.
140.
And it's very difficult when you're struggling on your feet or to find your balance. You're playing someone like Shane is throwing exceptionally good scores consistently. You can see with the frustration creeping in.
41. Shane require 150.
71 left.
92.
Brendan needs a big score. Try and put a little bit of pressure on. That's a good first start. Making the adjustment. Not sure I'd be looking to make the adjustment in that instance. I'd probably, if I found a first start, I'd be trying to capitalise on that rhythm.
It's currently too easy for Shane McGuirk.
Yeah, and look, by Australian standards, Brendan's not playing like too bad. If you're on a 2-darter after 15 darts, it's normally good enough to progress quite well into tournaments, but yeah, at the moment it's just not good enough. So Brendan needs to find his A game. His B game, he's been very solid. It's unfortunate that Shane's been on fire at the moment, but needs to be a little bit more relaxed. He's forced a mistake there. We've got to keep keeping his head down. He's not getting too far ahead of himself. He's staying within this game.
96.
That first start with a little bit of a jolt in the shoulder.
140.
Jockey Wilson-esque.
Didn't he make it work?
Absolutely. I love the comments where you need to have a certain type of technique to make it in the world of high-end darts. And you just look at Jockey Wilson, Dennis Priestley.
100.
Fantastic shot from Brendan. Too little, too late, maybe.
Indeed, it is 11 darter from Shane McGuirk, who continues to look like one of the outstanding prospects in Lakeside this year. Brandon Weening is in all sorts of trouble. There is a 16-point gulf in the averages, and Shane McGuirk is 3 legs away from a place in the quarterfinals.
For the 20 in the world that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go to Lakeside in December. 501 singles directly qualifying for the Lakeside World Championships. Come join North America's best dart shooters in Toronto. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August. A popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrowsmiths, the double silver weekend always provides great entertainment. The Latvian Open and Riga Open are held from October 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much-needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description. A special thanks to our tournament
the doubling
sponsors and partners,
from game
Mission,
to game may have
Blaze,
dropped from 100
Quiff,
to 50%.
Great Game,
But Shane McGuirk
L-Style,
is looking
and
mightily impressive for a 3rd game running, and he has given Brandon Weening next to no chance. The Australian number 4 seed did take 1 leg with his 1 chance at double 16, but beyond that, it has been total domination from the Irishman, and it is going to take a mega comeback from the Python. And I think, Raymond, it's going to be a combination of Brandon having to play out of his skin and McGuirk unexpectedly dropping off.
Yeah, absolutely. It's but Brendan's got the capacity and the capability, but if he's going to give in to frustration, it's going to bring him undone. He just needs to stay calm. A couple of deep breaths. And get the head right. The front foot wasn't working in the first part of the first session. It's fantastic. It's just the opener he was looking for. The Shane's scoring power really put the screws on the Brendan early doors, because every mistake Brendan made, Shane went straight onto it with a big score.
141.
And this is the power scoring that Brendan's capable of.
96.
Looking for an early break.
Hint of a smile on his face. How about this from Brandon Weening?
We're on for another 10-dart leg.
56.
Brandon giving Shane a taste of his own medicine.
Well, he may walk away beaten, but he's got the best leg of the tournament so far. I'd love to know what's being said to him.
Oh, I think he just would have gone back and had a look at the table and realised what we've been talking about, for the last couple of hours. And don't try and do anything you don't have to do. Play within yourself. You're good enough. You're capable. You just stay confident.
99.
But it's only 1 leg, and that's what he needs to tell himself. It was only 1 leg. It was a good leg. We just got to build some confidence and rhythm off that now. Go on with the job. slotting in before. They're a little bit high now. Shane's not applying pressure on him at the moment, but Brennan's got to do something soon.
96. 60.
Shane's gone off the ball here with his scoring power. He's given Brennan a lot of opportunities to come back in. Brennan's not taking them. It's a good switch. Brendan needs a 140 here. Oh, that's unlucky. There's varying levels of frustration coming in at the moment.
31.
He'd be frustrated in the first set, he couldn't find his feet. He'd be frustrated in the second set, he couldn't find his range. Now bounce outs. 36.
114.
Early doors in this leg, if Brandon had to hit a ton of 140, I think he could have taken the leg and the set by the scruff of the neck. Instead, he's languishing with Shane on 36.
Double 9. Shane McGuirk breaks back, and it'll be huge frustration to Brandon for many reasons, but you hit a 10 darter, the best leg of the tournament, looks so assured, and then you get trebleless physics, you get the unfortunate bounce out.
Yeah, and this is where it's going to be, as we said before, a test of experience, trying not to get frustrated. And it's very difficult. You're in the top 16 of Lakeside and you want to do well. You bombed a big leg. But those are a critical shot. You know, Shane's kicked away with the 140. You want to keep it solid. You want to keep it straight.
59.
Try and rebuild your confidence. Only 60 at a time where he could have caught up in the leg, and it would have probably put him ahead.
58.
Gets the opportunity back. He makes the most of it. 140 from Shane. He's back in the box seat and he's putting on the screws.
138.
Not being as electric from Shane, but
74. Brandon, you require 62.
You can see why he is the dark horse for the tournament.
one dart at double 16 for a third break of throw consecutively.
30. Shane, you require 32.
Must hit 2 triples. 60 at least to leave the 170, but the way Shane's pegging,
41.
I'd say 16 is going to go quite quickly. And it does.
It's exactly the case. Third round exit seems imminent for the Python.
58.
He just hasn't been given the opportunity to get started. He's hit the 10 dart leg out of the box after the break. But apart from that, like Shane's just punished everything. With darts like that, there's not much he can do to make that adjustment. And then more often than not, Shane's right behind him with a big shot.
100.
It's fantastic.
180.
That's him though, still here.
When the first start for Brandon's spot on, he does seem to pick the pace up slightly.
Yeah, he's got a good rhythm, a good natural rhythm. But so much relies on that first start. That's why if you can't find that balance, which he hadn't in that first set, it was a bit of a struggle. Down for 17s. Or is he going to stay there and be aggressive? Looks like the crowd's got an opinion on it as well.
100.
That's great timing. The way Shane's playing, you almost think this is a must hit.
57. Shane, you require 70.
To book his place in the quarterfinals on debut.
A little bit of a wobble in the hand there.
Double eight.
54. Brandon, you require 104.
Match dart missed.
The save must happen here. 57 now for tops. Bought himself a shot.
64.
Set dart gone. McGuirk will return.
And again, 16 for 16. He's been all over these rapid fire legs.
92, 96 and 94. It is so consistent from the Irishman, and he has recorded a straight sets win over Brandon Weening, who gave us a great moment, a 10-dart leg, best of the tournament, but McGuirk was far too strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from the man from Australia, Brandon Weening. And into the quarterfinals, Shane McGuirk. One Great Games YouTube channel. That is the end of our session. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. for day 7.
Tickets for the 2025 WDF Lakeside World Championships go on sale this Sunday at 6 p.m. Head over to www.eventbrite.co.uk to grab the best seats. The 46th annual Winmore Fleetwood Memorial Las Vegas Open will be held from January the 17th till the 19th. Sin City welcomes you to come and play in the entertainment capital of the world. Men's and women's champions win places. Register to play by Wednesday 22nd of January and kickstart the new WDF ranking season in historical Bucharest. The Toto Dutch Open Darts is held from January the 30th till February the 2nd. Registration is open until January the 15th. The Toto Dutch Open Darts is by far the largest darts party in the world that you should not miss. And the men's and women's champions go to Lakeside in December 2020. Join North America's best dart shooters in Toronto. The Swiss Open and Helvetia Open tournaments are held from May 30th till June the 1st. One of the longest running tournaments in Europe invites you to join them in between the most beautiful surroundings. The Swedish Open and Masters takes place from 15th to 17th of August. A popular tournament for many of Europe's best arrowsmiths, the double silver weekend always provides great entertainment. The Latvian Open and Riga Open are held from October 17th to 19th. One of the biggest tournament weekends in the Baltic region is near the end of the 2025 WDF season. An excellent chance to pick up your much-needed points in this silver and bronze weekend. For more information on each of these tournaments, go to the link in the description. A special thanks to our tournament sponsors and partners, Mission, Blaze, Quiff, Great Game, Dart Connect, L-Style and MasterCooler.com.